So, War of the Rohirrim. Muster the Rohirrim. Um, I, people, some like it, some don't. And that's fine. It's okay to not like it, and it's okay to like it. If it's a boring movie to watch and it's filled with feminism and girl power and all that, and you don't like it, great. If you think it's a great, if you watch it and you like it and you think the animation's great and the story's great, guess what? It's not going to be for everyone. Now that that's out of the way, because like, oh my god, John, I thought the movie was great. You're just a stupid fat insane. If you like it, you like it. Okay. No one's coming to your house to arrest you because you like something. Okay. So stop getting offended over some nobody on the internet. Um, War of the Rohirrim producer Philippa Boyens attempts to defend destroying Tolkien's lore. We can't ruin Tolkien books. No, but you can just disrespect them. Kind of like, what Rings of Power is doing. So Peter Jackson's movies weren't accurate to the books as well, but there was a lot more time and dedication put into those than, say, Rings of Power. Rings of Power, taking lore and characters and just changing them completely. So there's a way to adapt something and still be respectful to the person's work. The characters in Lord of the Rings in Peter Jackson's were still pretty much true to what they were. Rings of Power comes along and characters are changed. Lore is changed. So there's a way you can make an adaptation without disrespecting the writer. And that's something people nowadays don't seem to comprehend. It's like, oh, well, it's an adaptation. It's like, okay, you can still be respectful to the lore and to the person's writings. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim producer Philippa Boyens attempted to defend her desecration of Tolkien's lore in the film by claiming she and the people who worked on the film can't ruin Tolkien's books. In an interview with IGN, Boyens stated, Professor Tolkien has stated in his letters that the most compelling story is the untold story. He also added, we can't do anything to those books. Those books are going to stand as these masterpieces, hopefully till the end of time. We can't ruin them. So people who come at you saying, "Oh, you ruined this or ruined that," no. All we did was presented you with an adaptation of his work. And again, there's a way to do adaptations. When you take a character who had no name, who had nothing to do in the story, and then suddenly you're adding this whole female only group of warriors that didn't exist, you're not respecting the works. You're adding things to fit your agenda of girl power and women are just as strong as men. And some people will come to it and relate to it, and some people won't. And sometimes the criticism is justified, and sometimes the criticism is justified, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it isn't. Nevertheless, Boyens also explained why they decided to completely eschew the books. What I think you will see unfold, hopefully, because this is where we work from, is that don't just change something arbitrarily. Yep, don't just change things arbitrarily. If we're working to change something to do it for a good, we're going to change something to do it for good storytelling reasons. And anything you bring to it, make it feel real. Make it feel, well, it doesn't feel authentic. When you're taking a character that had nothing to do at all in the story, apart from like one line, yes, the war starts in part because of her. But she didn't do anything during the whole war. She wasn't a warrior. She didn't lead a group of all female warriors. Oh, freedom, all Braveheart style. She was in the background. She was mentioned once, and that was it. But yet they took that character and made her the focal point of this movie. Um, we make sure you know what the reason is, and it's really good storytelling reason why you are having to make that change. If you're adding, make it as authentic as you can possibly make it. So we didn't just draw upon Eowyn for Hera. We drew upon women from early English history that Tolkien himself would have been familiar with. So there's nothing woke about this, guys, if you're out there, because taking a character that had nothing to do in the story whatsoever, making her the leader of an old, ancient, all female group of warriors, it's just respecting the work, right? It's not pushing the whole feminism and girls are just as good as guys and girls. No, no, no. It's respecting the works. Nevertheless, she also admitted it's an interesting piece of storytelling, even if you just follow the bare threads that are in the book, and that's because it starts out huge and quite epic. She also wildly misinterpreted Tolkien's comments about wanting other individuals to work within and expand out the mythology he created in Lord of the Rings. She said Tolkien didn't just write his books; he wrote an entire mythology, a vast, incredible work which is so detailed and so complex, works on so many different layers, and you can just leave that alone and not touch it. But he himself did not want that. And he himself said that he wanted other minds to come to it, bringing music and art and drama to it. So he had a sense of that at some stage, because what he knew about myths is that it cannot be immutable. It's unclear where she gets the claim that Tolkien wanted other minds to come to his work. In letter 131 to Milton Waldman, Tolkien was rather blunt about his thoughts. It is not possible, even at great length, to pot The Lord of the Rings in a paragraph or two. It begun in 1936, and every part has been written many times. Hardly a word hardly a word in its 600,000 or more has been unconsidered. And the placing, size, style, and contribution to the whole of the feature of all the features, incidents, chapters has been laboriously pondered. I do not say this in recommendation. It is, I feel, only too likely that I am deluded, lost in a web of vain imaginings of not much value to others, in spite of the fact that a few readers have found it good on the whole. Well, what I intend to say is this: I cannot substantially alter the thing. I have finished it. It is off my mind. The labor has been colossal, and I must stand or fall, practically as it is. And to that point, that she or anybody else cannot ruin the books, that is likely true. I mean, yeah, it's not going to ruin things completely, but people don't like when you take something like Lord of the Rings and then disrespect it. Again, like with Peter Jackson, you can only do so much with a 2 hour movie, a 2 hour time frame. Even though the uncut is like what, 3 hours long or something like that, you're still limited. Unlike a TV series with episodes that are pretty much an hour long, 8 episodes per season, and yet you have all this time for expansive world building and respecting the lore, but they do everything but. They change the lore completely, they change characters, and so there's a right way to adapt things and there's a wrong way. So Tolkien might have hated the Peter Jackson version as well, but he would look at it and say, well, it stays more true to what I envisioned, and I understand that there's only so much you can do in a 2 hour time frame when you're telling this grand of a story. Even though like I said, I'm sure he wouldn't like it. He'd probably have more praise for it than, say, Rings of Power. He'd just look at it and be like, what the fuck is this shit? Um, And to this point, that she or anybody else cannot read the books is likely true, albeit we've already seen publishers attempting to insert woke edits to classic books. Nevertheless, she can shape the narrative around the people, what people think the characters and books are about, for those who have not read them, especially in this day and age when the medium of film and television is so much popular than books. This was done in with Aragorn and Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Aragorn is depicted as an individual who is reluctant to claim the crown as king and fears making the mistake his ancestor Isildur did. However, in Tolkien's books, this is nowhere near the truth. Case in point, Aragorn carried around the shards of Narsil with him and even showed it off to the hobbits. Tolkien wrote, "But I am Aragorn," and those verses go with the name. Go with that name. He drew out his sword, and they saw that the blade was indeed broken a foot below the hilt. Not much is it. Uh, not much is it, Sam. Or not much is it, Sam. Said Strider. But the time is near when it shall be forged anew. At Rivendell, Aragorn informs Boromir, but now the world is changing once again, and the new hour comes. Isildur's bane is found. Battles at hand. The sword shall be reforged. I will come to Minas Tirith. Furthermore, he makes it clear that he takes pride in being the chieftain of the Dunedain, and protecting people from the evils haunting the world. But my home, such as I have, is in the north. For here the heirs. Wow, it's like HH. Uh, Valandil have ever dwelt in a long line unbroken, from father unto son for many generations. Our days have darkened, and we have dwindled. But ever the sword has passed to a new keeper, and this I will say to you, Boromir, ere I end. Lonely men we are, rangers of the wild, hunters, but hunters ever of the servants of the enemy. For they are found in many places, not in Mordor only. If Gondor Boromir has been a stalwart tower, we have played another part. Many evil things there are that your strong walls and bright swords do not stay. You know little of the lands beyond your bounds, Aragorn continued. Peace and freedom, do you say? The North would have known them little, but for us, fear would have destroyed them. But when dark things come from the houseless hills or creep from the sunless woods, they fly from us. The roads would any dare to tread. Uh, where safety would there be in quiet lands or in the homes of simple men at the night if the Dunedain were asleep and were all gone into the grave. Um, you did. Thanks for ruining another IP, lady. Yeah, like I said, people would look at Peter Jackson or Tolkien probably wouldn't like Peter Jackson's, but you know the character, even though Boromir in the books is more open about who he is and not like his character itself. I mean, you kind of have to add some kind of build up sort of thing, this final battle or confrontation, and Aragorn being the rightful king. It wouldn't be storytelling wise, or at least for a movie. It's like, okay, well, we need some kind of finish, right? You know, and people like that whole story of you know starting off all fearful and this and that, and suddenly becoming like just stronger, but it still stayed true to his character. He was how he was in the books, how he was in the movies. It's just that whole he wasn't flashing Narsil and like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm King Aragorn, look at me. um so again, when you're adapting, it's an adaptation. You can you can take liberties but still be respect the people's works. Like I said, Rings of Power just doesn't respect it at all. This doesn't respect it at all. They took one sentence about this chick, and decided to make her the focal point of the movie. She didn't even have a name in the book. She doesn't even have a name in the book. Oh yeah, that's our main character right there. And we're gonna add in a tribe of mighty female warriors. Yeah, but there's no agenda or anything. We're respecting Tolkien's work, but yeah, it may not ruin it, but you're not doing any services by disrespecting it. So anyway, if you like the movie, great. If you didn't like it, great. Doesn't matter, and people shouldn't be too upset what some nobody on the internet is saying. These are just my opinions. Like an asshole, everyone's got one. So that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.